Welcome to another episode of No BS. I am one of your hosts, Max, and we have three new hosts here today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Tyler.
I'm Shrey.
And hello, I am Patrick.
All right, so we have a very special episode for y'all today. We are going to be going over our NFL awards: MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year. We will also be giving our all-pro teams, with the exceptions of linemen, because I do not know who the best right guard is in the league. I apologize.
What do you mean?
Who's the best right guard?
And we're talking UFC.
At the end, we will talk a little
Tyler
bit.
So
will
stay
be
tuned.
talking UFC
You don't want to miss it.
at the end.
At the end. Okay, so we will be starting with our MVP. Shrey, I would like for you to lead us off.
I mean, there's only one obvious choice. It's got to be Patty Mahomes. The stats speak for themselves.
Mahomes!
Max, please shut up.
Okay. That's right, I'm sorry.
Pat, I was really interested in your pick for the MVP. Who was that again?
My pick was Mr. Jared Goff.
An
BS!
absolute shit pick.
Well,
BS.
I think that is very disgraceful to both me and my pick, Jared Goff. I feel like his feelings would be hurt if you said that to his
All right,
face.
why do you think Jared Goff's the MVP?
You know, I got to say, Jared Goff, MVP, 4,600 yards, almost 4,700, 8.4 yards an attempt, 32 touchdowns, and only 12 interceptions.
Okay, Patty Mahomes had 50 touchdowns, one of only 3 players to do so in NFL history, and he had 12 interceptions, just like Jared Goff.
Gurf?
I call him Gurf.
What
I call
was-
him Gurf, man.
May I ask, what
Yeah.
was his completion percentage?
Completion percentage means jack balls.
Whoa. Look here. If we're
Whoa.
talking completion percentage, we can't overlook Drew Brees.
Okay.
74%. You're just trying to avoid it because Mahomes dropped 66%.
Does completion percentage equate to wins? No. Does it equate to,
It
does it
led-
equate to points? No.
It led the Saints to a 13-3 record.
You know what equates to points? Touchdowns. And Patty Mahomes had 50 of them through the air.
How about his picks?
12? I mean, when you throw 100 more times, you're bound to have more interceptions than Drew Brees.
I'm rolling with
Sure.
5 picks and a 74% completion percentage
If you're not
with
gonna-
13 wins.
If you're going to talk about meaningless stats that don't relate to wins, let's talk about yardage. How many yards did Drew Brees have? Yardage.
Sure, what do you mean don't relate to wins? Patty Mahomes has more than Drew Brees.
Yeah.
So why are you saying that hurts your
No,
point?
because it's basically just touchdowns that relates to wins. And
Okay,
Pat
okay.
Mahomes does the most. That's why
I agree. Because
he
look, hey,
deserves
you're
the
Big
MVP.
Ben. You know,
Yeah.
you're Big Ben. You know, led the league in yardage, and we see where that got him,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I really think Jared Goff is still the MVP.
No, I mean-
I've got to say it. He was the most.
Sorry, some technical difficulties.
I feel like he was the most consistent QB throughout the season.
Yeah, what about that Eagles game? What about that Bears game?
You know, I still think he performed better than most would in those situations.
And by
What?
the way, those are 2 of the top defenses in the league.
Exactly.
Eagles are slept
Eagles
on, but they're
so-
up there. They're
Look
slept
at
on,
their
but they're up
secondary.
there. They're
Look at
slept
their-
on, but they're
look
up
at their
there.
secondary.
Don't sleep on the Eagles defense. And the
Tell me their
Bears are
secondary.
100% the best.
I agree. I will give you that.
Let me-
But
let
when
me-
Mahomes,
hey.
how many times have the
How
Chiefs
many- how
scored?
many- how-
I'm in the middle of a sentence. How many times have the Chiefs scored less than 26 points? How many?
Damn!
0 times. And that's because of Patty Mahomes.
All right, I will say, Patty Mahomes, great QB, great QB. But we also got to look at the consistency level, not just this season, but in his entire career. This guy's been performing well throughout his whole career. Okay? Now,
Look at his
now
first
let me
year.
ask.
Look at his first year.
Now. I don't know what type of sound you just made. But let me ask you, how many attempts did Patty Mahomes have this year?
He had 580.
Okay, how many completions?
He had 347. Actually, no, that's incorrect. He had 383.
383. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So
I
that's
think yards per attempt is a much more valid
Yards per
statistic
attempt.
here. He had 8.8. Jared Goff, 8.35. So a
8
little less.
8.4. 8.4.
Well, to be exact, 8.36.
That's 0.4 less, Pat.
Okay.
That is
Okay. What
0.4
was?
less.
Actually, I'm not gonna.
Listen, I don't even want to listen to you right now. We're going to move on. We're moving on.
Okay.
Okay. Offensive Player of the Year. Pat, I don't even want to go to you right now. We're going to go to Tyler.
That is
Tyler,
crazy.
go ahead.
Christian McCaffrey,
Really?
best all-around player in the NFL right now.
I don't know if best all-around player.
Okay, look, number 1 receiving back
Okay.
with yardage,
Yeah.
Second with touchdowns. And then he has, on top of that, 1,100 yards rushing, 13 total touchdowns, only 2 fumbles. Nobody's better.
Saquon Barkley, 0 fumbles. Saquon Barkley, 1,300 yards. Saquon Barkley, the same amount of yards per carry.
Okay, let's talk receiving.
Okay. I mean, he's good in the receiving game. Both of them are
McCaffrey's
equally
better.
decent. I mean, by numbers, sure. McCaffrey has more yards. But Saquon Barkley, behind the league's 29th best defense, had 5 yards per attempt. Christian McCaffrey, on the other hand, had 5 yards per attempt with the 11th ranked offensive line. So what Saquon's doing, given his situation, is far more impressive than Christian McCaffrey.
Max, I'd like to ask you a question. How many receptions did Saquon Barkley have this year for how many yards?
How many receptions did Saquon Barkley have?
Yes, sir.
I mean, Saquon Barkley had.
And how many yards
He
did
had
he
90.
average?
He had 91 receptions
How
and
many yards?
721.
How many yards did
receiving
he
yards.
average?
Per game? Receiving
per
yards?
receiving per reception.
I'm not sure about the. I don't know.
Well, I think that's some pretty good information that you need to know. But
Okay.
you know what?
I mean, who
I
are you
will let
arguing
it go.
for?
I believe Ezekiel Elliott, Offensive Player of the Year. He this year performed outstandingly.
Yeah.
His offensive line is still great.
Yeah, eighth best.
Eighth best, has dropped significantly in the past few years. And I think to discredit him entirely is completely false. I think he played well this year, led the league in yards. He might only had 6 touchdowns, but still, he was a dominant back every game he played in. So I think that has to be considered.
Yeah, but I mean, Ezekiel Elliott 4.7 yards an attempt behind the 8th best offensive line, and Saquon 5 yards an attempt behind the 29th best offensive line. I think those are two very different situations.
But I also have to think that Saquon Barkley, how many attempts did Saquon Barkley have this
He
year?
had 261.
Okay. But I also have to think that he was the number 1 on the Giants team.
Correct.
Number 1 on the Giants team.
Same with Zeke.
I think Dak Prescott has more to throw to, more people to throw
What?
to.
Odell
than
Beckham
Eli
Jr.?
Manning.
Odell Beckham Jr.?
If you look at
You have to have
Odell
somebody who can
Beckham
throw
Jr.
first.
Yeah, okay, so it's just more of a duty on Saquon.
Exactly. But I
mean,
think
you're just-
Ezekiel Elliott performed better with less of a duty.
What?
And by the way, Zeke did have more attempts.
He had far more
He had
attempts.
he had 43 more attempts.
Yeah,
I had
good
far
value.
more
But you have
yards.
to look at this.
took him
The
like
Giants'
30
offense
minutes.
was on the field far less amount of times.
That's more impressive for Saquon.
Hey, one more
That's
thing.
more
One more
impressive
thing. One
for
more thing.
Saquon. Thank you for
I
proving
don't,
my
I don't
point.
think so.
Zeke
I
had
don't
6
think so.
fumbles.
Yeah, how many?
6 fumbles.
How many did Saquon have?
We don't talk about
Zero.
That's almost that's
We don't talk.
that's
Saquon-
almost worse than the league.
Fumbles don't make a running back. Okay?
Lamar
We saw
Jackson?
That, fumbles don't make a player.
Yeah.
We saw that with Juju Smith-Schuster, arguably one of the best wide
amount
receivers.
of One fumble. One
the
fumble.
amount of fumbles Zeke had.
We're talking
I'm gonna have
six.
to
Could
go-
I,
in a
could I
big
just?
game.
I'm
talking
gonna have to
six.
go with Saquon.
Can I just
I'm
say
gonna have to
something?
go with
So we have a
Saquon.
Google Doc open, and straight here, he originally had Gurley, and then he was listening to Pat talk, and he switched to Zeke, and then in the last 5 seconds, he switched to Saquon.
I cannot
so
confirm
very
or
indecisive.
deny said information.
Very
We're moving
indecisive.
on. Defensive Player of the Year.
Wonderful.
Max, why don't you start us off?
I have Aaron Donald, 20 and a half sacks, basically all you need to know.
Monster season.
You know, the Rams had a really their rush defense wasn't great, but without him, they would have been even worse. He had 25 tackles for loss. That is 4 more than whoever was in second place. 4 forced fumbles. He was just a lot to deal with on the defensive line, and I think there's no other player to consider.
I really disagree with that. Khalil Mack,
All right, we disagree
most
a lot.
dominant
Absolutely
player
dominant.
in the league. Led the Bears.
Absolute
to
unit,
the
by the way.
playoffs. Led the Bears
Look
to
at
the
where
playoffs.
Aaron Donald is right now, and where are the Bears? Oh yeah, not in
But
the
you have to
playoffs.
look at the offense on both teams. Yes,
How
Mitchell
does that have
Trubisky,
anything to do
great
with who's a
player.
better defensive player?
No,
I'm
that's what-
saying
that has
that the
to do with
Bears'
where
defense
they are
was
right now.
extremely
Okay.
more dominant, and that's how they got to the playoffs. I think Aaron Donald had less of a factor in the Los Angeles Rams' great offense than making it to the playoffs.
Offense or defense? You mean defense?
No, like their defense was good,
It was okay.
but
It
their
wasn't even that
offense
good.
got them to the playoffs.
Okay.
Khalil Mack was the reason.
6 forced
that
It
they
fumbles?
wasn't.
got to the
It wasn't just
For Mack?
Khalil Mack.
6 forced fumbles.
I mean, it was Akeem Hicks. It
12
was
and a
Eddie
half.
Jackson.
12 and a half sacks and 1 pick 6.
I mean,
Not.
we want to talk about sacks.
no
Donald
off-
had over 20.
No offensive tackle could deal with Khalil Mack.
And
No offensive tackle could deal with Aaron Donald.
No, I don't.
who's
think
also
that's-
working with Ndamukong Suh and much better outside pass rushers.
And Mack is working with Trevathan and Hicks and all those guys.
Trevathan's a linebacker.
Yeah,
He's not rushing every play. He's working with Hicks.
Oh, he's
The Rams' defensive line, as a whole, has more talent on it.
offensive line. You mean defensive?
Defensive line has more talent on it than the Bears.
That doesn't.
More
that
weapons.
Doesn't
More weapons.
all
It
right.
opens more up for Aaron Donald.
I
And I'm not
disagree.
taking anything away from him.
Sue
He
hasn't had a
great-
good
he
year.
He had a great season, but there's way more weapons and way more factors coming in from that defensive line. Max working with Hicks.
I mean, Donald is far more better in the run game, and I think
Far
he's
more better.
and I think he's equally as good in the passing game.
No,
as rushing
I
the
think
quarterback.
Khalil Mack is supremely better in the pass.
Supremely better.
And
Just
a
because
playmaker.
every-
a large,
every
much
play-
larger playmaker. in my
Every
opinion.
agree.
play,
I
he
disagree.
forces the ball
Can
out
change
of
the
the
course of the game.
quarterback's hands.
For sure.
Okay.
Every
Okay.
play.
Okay. Every play.
Every play.
All right. Offensive rookie of the year. I have Saquon again. I already made my points. Who has Baker?
I have Baker Mayfield.
As well do I.
Okay. 3 against 1. That's okay.
I mean, look, there's one stat that says it all. Rookie all-time single-season passing touchdown record holder.
And
That's a mouthful.
14 games played.
And let's be real. Let's
14
look at
games
this.
played.
Actually, I
They
think
go
it might be
No, it
from
is
the worst
14.
team in
13 and a
the
half.
worst team in the league
Okay. Okay.
to a record of 7-8-1
Okay. And
behind
that's not
Baker.
just because
Behind
of him.
Baker Mayfield.
But all right,
That's behind
also,
Baker Mayfield.
I'm not saying Tyrod had a good first few games, but look at what they did with Tyrod. They tied to the Steelers and they lost by 3 to the Saints. I mean, that's a competitive team without Baker.
The
I mean, it's
Steelers-
not all him, is
The
what I'm
Steelers
saying.
are pretty bad this year, my guy.
I mean, they beat the Pats. I mean, they're a good team. I mean, what are they 9-6-1? I think.
They're a good player that got
They're a
sent
good player?
home. Yep, player. And the Steelers are a very good player.
No, I mean, let's not spend too much time on that. But I think Saquon does more for his team this year, and he's more valuable to the Giants. Without him, they have 1 win maybe.
I think the way I looked at offensive rookie of the year was basically as the most valuable offensive player as a rookie.
I
that
mean-
was a great sentence.
Shrey knows how to speak English, guys. I swear to you.
I don't know about that.
But Baker Mayfield is the best rookie leader that I have seen play in the NFL in a long time, except for Nathan Peterman.
I mean, he also had some down games, Baker. Like, not all of his games were good, and I mean that's the same with
That
Saquon.
comes with being a rookie.
You're correct. I mean, that's a
True.
valid statement, but
True.
I think Saquon overall was far more consistent. You know, Baker had games, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. He had games, less than 200 yards and 2 picks. I mean, not a great year.
I still
think that's-
believe that averaging 7.7 yards each play is pretty significant. Each pass attempt is pretty significant.
That's not great.
I want to say
for a
that the
quarterback.
inconsistency also comes with the position. It's
Okay.
getting 30 touches a game from out of the backfield for Saquon changes what's happening.
Saquon has 16 rushes of more than 20 yards. That is a 20-yard plus rush a game.
I'm just talking the consistency part of it.
I mean,
think that
they're
comes
both.
with the
I mean,
position.
I think they're both decently consistent.
Okay.
I mean, all right, let's move on. Next, we have our defensive rookie of the year, and surprisingly, we all have the same player. We all have Darius Leonard. Sheree, what's your case for him?
I mean, the tackles speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Most tackle as a rookie. Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
Okay. The guy's got clear talent.
Jesus.
Any
Yeah,
other?
huge part of the Colts' success.
Exactly.
They went from a pretty bad record to a pretty good record. And their defense, as well as most notably their offensive line, were the main factors of that improvement.
And aside from the tackles, he dominated. 7 sacks,
Yeah.
8 pass deflections, 2 picks, and 4 forced fumbles.
Yeah, he's a
great.
good guy.
Those are some of
he's a
the
good
best
player.
numbers all around
He's a
for a
good player.
linebacker in the league.
Yeah, oh, no,
Nobody at this table is disagreeing with you, Tyler.
All right, Coach of the Year. We do have some disagreements here. I have Matt Nagy. Went from a 5-11 team, took over, went to 12-4. He got the best out of Trubisky, who's not amazing, but certainly improved a lot.
Couldn't get the best out of Cody Parkey.
All right, well, I mean,
That was a horrible
that-
joke.
Field goal was blocked.
is that really
Just
is that really a
saying.
factor in Coach of the Year?
I'm just
I
throwing
mean,
that in there.
Frank Wright didn't get the best out of Andrew Luck in that game.
But you know who's getting the best out of Patrick Mahomes? My pick, Andy Reid.
No, Patrick Mahomes is getting the best out of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Andy Reid is a choke artist.
Highest scoring offense.
Yeah.
High scoring
Right now.
offense.
Best defense in the league, Matt Nagy.
Yeah. But
I'm not going to argue that.
I'd have to go.
Okay.
I'd have to go with Frank Reich.
I completely agree with you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Why?
He great job this year. Great job last year with the Eagles.
Okay.
But this year, he really brought that power, that offensive power that the Eagles had during the postseason last year. He brought that to Andrew Luck and his comeback year on the Colts.
Yeah.
They really powered through the league this year. I just think you have to consider him, and I really think he's the pick for coach of the year.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Andy Reid, I mean, the Chiefs were already good last year, and so, I mean, a little bit of an improvement, sure, in terms of wins, but I think that's mostly because of the upgrade from Smith to Mahomes. I don't think it has much to do with Andy Reid. That defense is abysmal.
Well, to
They
be
gave
fair
up.
to Andy Reid, that was a decision he made.
I mean, I think the
helped
general manager made that decision.
He
Also,
definitely
he didn't
did.
start Patrick Mahomes last
I
year,
mean, let's
so
be-
that was his decision. Maybe they would have had a better year if he started
Like,
Patty Mahomes.
let's be real. Mahomes is a great player. That
Let's
offense
get
is
real.
that offense is high powered, but the play calling from Andy Reid on offense.
Yeah, but do you know how many first
got-
downs the Chiefs have given up?
I understand. He had-
40 more than the second worst team.
All right. I'm gonna
Abysmal defensively.
I'm gonna have to say
yeah,
something
Reid's an
about
offensive coach, and he gets it done on offense.
But the game is not just offense. Being an NFL coach is managing the game. Yes, also managing your
So
coordinators.
how
and
about
stuff
how
like
about how about Nagy's offense that
Not bad.
that got smacked by the Eagles?
that. No, look at the receivers on that team. Anyone good? No. Trubisky did decent for his talent level. I think Nagy
Okay,
got
so
the
how
best
can you
out
make
of him.
that argument for the Chiefs? They have nobody on their defense.
Well, yes, they do.
Who? Thank you,
Chris
thank you guys,
Jones.
thank you guys.
D
Chris
Ford.
Jones.
Thank you a
best.
lot.
D Ford?
Thank you. A lot. They have two defensive linemen.
What do you mean?
May I
Ford's
say
a
something
linebacker.
about Andy Reid and
He's a
your
outside
accusation
passer.
about his play calling and how it's great? I would have to say that isn't entirely correct. Yes, he might throw out some great calls every once in a while, but Patrick Mahomes makes the plays. If you look at the amount of times he scrambled out of the pocket, thrown it sidearm, thrown it on his back leg, I think you have to give more credit to Patty Mahomes.
No, I give all the
than
credit
you have
in
to
the world
give
to
to
Mahomes.
Andy Reid.
Well, then,
I give a lot of credit to Patrick Mahomes, but I believe Andy Reid puts him in the position
all
to be
right,
great.
well, I'm happy me and Pat finally agree. Comeback player of the year. This is this is a quick one. I have Luck. I mean, he hasn't played in. I think before the beginning of the year, it was over 500 days, maybe even 600 days, and to come out and to be, magnificent. He had 3 touchdowns in 10 or more consecutive games. I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, Luck just had an amazing year. And really with only T.Y. Hilton to catch the ball. And Ebron.
Yeah.
I mean, the tight end position was kind of shaky for them.
The
But
offensive line definitely improved.
agree. I actually had Quentin Nelson as my offensive rookie of the year for a second there before I realized how insane
And
that
now
was.
let me tell you something. J.J. Watt is the comeback player of the year.
You know what? I love JJ.
Fair.
I love him a lot. Huge Texans guy right here. But huge Texans guy. But Luck, I'm telling you, Luck's just had more of a standout year.
Yo, listen to these
Yeah.
stats. Listen to these stats. He comes back.
Comeback player of the year is
He-
not all about
yeah,
stats.
Yeah, he comes back with 16 sacks. He's only behind Aaron Donald there.
By 4.5 sacks. It's a pretty big margin.
He's doing better than Khalil Mack, and he had one more forced
So why
fumble
don't
than
you put
Khalil
him
Mack.
as your
And he had one more
Why don't you
forced
put
fumble
him
than
as your
Khalil Mack.
defensive player of the year?
So,
He's got you there. He has
I mean,
got you
you're just
there.
saying how he's better than
no,
Khalil
no,
Mack.
no. I think Mack is a bigger impact player.
Okay.
Like
all right.
he changes the course of games. J.J. Watt has the stats to back up my claim, and I
Alright,
believe
I mean-
he was a better comeback player.
I mean, we already kind of talked about quarterback in the MVP discussion. Me and Trey have Mahomes, Tyler, Breeze, and Pat, fucking Jared Goff for some reason.
Stop disrespecting him, okay?
Yeah, running back, same thing. It's pretty much consistent with our offensive player of the years. But wide receiver, got some interesting differences here. Tyler, why don't you start us off?
So I mean, we all go with Hopkins.
Yeah.
He was
Hopkins,
dominant, and
yeah.
and he's working with a quarterback who doesn't have the greatest arm, to
Okay.
say the least.
Most dominant wide receiver.
Oh, for sure, for sure. The
So-
grabs he was making
I
over
don't know.
guys, he had a dominant year. But then I go with Julio,
Okay.
and I think that's a no-brainer. He leads the league in receiving yards, 1,677 yards. That's no joke, and 8 touchdowns. We know he started off slow in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Once he got rolling, he was unstoppable, and I believe that's why he needs to be on my All-Pro
I
team.
mean, I also think there were numerous games where he just disappeared. The game against Baltimore, when I think that was back when they were still in the playoff hunt a while ago. 2 receptions, 18 yards. I feel like when they needed him most, he just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Against the Panthers, 4 receptions, 28 yards, all on the first drive. After the first drive, nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, he lacks consistency, certainly. And I just think, in the big moments, he doesn't show up, especially this year in particular.
Max, let me ask you, since you got stats in front of you, how many games was it until Julio Jones scored a touchdown?
It was 7 games, week 9.
7 games.
Yeah.
That is.
I don't believe that's on him. I believe that's on the offense. That's on the
Matt
play
Ryan
calling.
had a great year.
That's on the play calling. He wasn't put in the position to score touchdowns, and we all saw that.
I don't
And
know.
I think Julio Jones has something to do with all the touchdowns Calvin Ridley and Mohamed Sanu were able to
I
catch.
won't disagree with that. But I don't think he's the second best receiver in the league. I think that's Michael Thomas. And me and Trey both have Michael Thomas as our second wide receiver. What do you have to say about that, Trey?
Just a monster player. We talk about, Tyler talks about Julio Jones as being a big impact player, but Michael Thomas, how about that Eagles game?
He got it done. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
I mean,
lie.
it is a regular season sample size, not the playoffs. But
Yeah,
it validates your claim. I see that.
Exactly.
He had the 3rd most first downs in the league, along with the most receptions. I think Thomas is by far, I think he's the best wide receiver in the league. And I think Hopkins is probably a close second. But Tyler, or Pat, you have an interesting choice, I would say.
I wouldn't even call it interesting. I would
Okay.
call it factual. He averaged 15.8 yards a reception, 7 touchdowns. Second-year player, I think he was dominant. Second-year player, dominant. I would even go to say best wide receiver this season
Wow.
on the Steelers roster.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's a fair claim.
Yeah.
I also think his talent is also because of the coverage that Antonio Brown took up. I mean, he's the number 1 per se corner.
But Juju got it done.
drawer.
But
Juju still got it
he
done.
got
He
it done.
did.
He got
I'm
it done
not denying
sometimes
that.
on double coverage.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would
but
also like
Thomas
to
did
say.
too. I mean, look who Thomas had like drawing defenders.
Okay,
Ted
and then
Ginn,
let me-
Traquan Smith.
Let me say one more thing. This year, Juju, full 16 games. He played great. He did it. We're not leaving out the playoffs. He did have that fumble.
Yeah,
But, I think stuff like that happens, especially
Young
to
player.
young players.
yeah. I mean, I won't hold that against him.
And again, like with talking about who's a playmaker, he's a playmaker.
Yeah.
I hate it when you say that.
Now,
Almost
92-yard
50.
touchdown catch. Like he
97
gets,
yard.
Yeah, almost
Thank you,
1,500
even better.
yards
He gets it
receiving.
Well,
done.
you and Julio, so.
Oh, I still roll with Julio, but I'm gonna work with
Max,
Juju.
how
here.
many, I just want this
Yeah.
information. How many targets for
I love me
each
some
of your guys?
Smith-Schuster.
Thomas had 147
Okay.
targets on only 100, and he had 125 receptions. You look at a guy like Juju,
Yes.
and Juju had 166 targets and
Yes.
only 111 receptions. So he had almost 20 more targets, but less than about 15 less receptions.
I also think we have to take in
So Thomas is
Big
far more
Ben's,
efficient.
Big
Yeah.
Ben's arm this year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Some of those throws weren't catchable.
Drew Brees puts him on the
He
money.
did not.
Big Ben doesn't.
He did
Big Ben
not.
had a
He did not.
good
do
year.
that.
No, Big Ben's
5,000
stats
guys.
show him
He had
doing
a
well.
5,000
No,
yard
his
year.
stats look
You-
good,
you
but
also have to
he's
look
not
at the
that clutch
amount of
quarterback.
picks that
and
Big
he,
Ben threw this
I
year.
mean, Brees
Watching the
also
game-
struggled in the middle of the
Big
year.
Ben
realistically,
threw a
watching the
lot
game,
of
Big Ben doesn't
interceptions
get it
this year.
done. His stats do, but he doesn't.
I mean, Drew Brees also struggled in the middle of the year. The 10-3 loss against Dallas. He struggled against Tampa Bay. I don't think. What? Oh, I don't think that. They both had their little rough spots throughout the year, Juju and Thomas. But I think Thomas just had a better year.
Okay.
Tight end,
It's an
Tyler,
obvious decision.
start us.
It's not obvious. We are rolling with Zach Ertz.
Yes.
Look, he set another record this year, single season catches for a tight end.
Oh, wow.
Bro, Jason wins.
I mean, Kittle had their yardage record. So.
Yes, he did.
Ertz when they need someone on that Eagles team, which is an Eagles team that, played decent down the stretch. They got it done when they had to. Ertz was the target. Only one more person in the league had more receptions, and that's Michael Thomas. We're talking all
Amen.
offensive players, and that's Michael Thomas. 8 touchdowns, 1 fumble. He was decent scoring, and again, didn't cough up the ball.
It wasn't much of a red zone target, I would say, as much as my guy, Travis Kelce.
Our guy. man.
Our guy, Travis Kelce. I love Travis. He's on my fantasy team. Had 10 touchdowns.
That's cool.
18 receptions of 20 yards or more. Fumbled the ball twice. 68 first downs. Him and Tyreek are a huge part of the Chiefs and Mahomes' success. I think he's the most dominant tight end in the league. Sure, Kittle might have put up better numbers because
he did.
because look
Oh, yes, he
look
did.
at the other options Nick Mullins or Nate Mullins or whatever has to throw to.
But you also have to look at the quarterback situation out there in San Francisco.
Yeah, but he has no other
Losing-
player to eat up targets.
Losing your big money guy, very difficult for a whole organization
Mullins
to
is
go
a starting
through.
caliber QB.
So I think
Yeah, for
George
the
Kittle
Giants.
powering through this season, was extremely important for
Only 5
the San
touchdowns.
Fran. You know what? 1,300 yards.
I mean, Kelsey had just like about 40 less. So, I mean,
But
very
you-
similar.
Okay.
40
All right,
less,
but
and then he had 20, about
And he had double the touchdowns.
double the touchdowns, 15 more receptions.
8 more for
Look,
How many more targets
again,
did
we
Kelsey
can't
have?
overlook the quarterback
15 more
situation.
targets.
That's
I mean, but
that's
like,
a
you can't
huge
hold
part.
that against
That's
Travis
a
Kelce.
huge part.
You
Yeah,
can't hold that against Travis Kelsey.
I think it makes a difference.
You can't hold
Look,
it
Kelsey
against
had
a
a
player.
great Kelsey had a
Alright,
great
So that
year.
means
Everybody-
no one with a good quarterback can be on an
No,
all-pro team
we pick a
because
bunch of
they
guys,
have
but
a
I
good
think you have to take
quarterback?
that into consideration.
Yeah, very minor consideration.
I wouldn't even say minor. I'd say a medium consideration is necessary to be
An
done.
average consideration.
In average, Trey's he knows a lot about average considerations.
What?
All right, moving on. Defensive ends.
You don't get
Yeah.
it. I get it.
So me, Tyler, and Trey each have Mack and Watt. I think that's a no-brainer. But
Pure
Pat,
dominance.
going against the grain again with Chris Jones. Tell us your thought process here, Patricio.
There wasn't any.
Well, wow, that is to me very disrespectful. But Chris Jones this year played well. He had 40 total tackles, 35 solo sacks, 35 solo tackles, my fault. 15 and a half sacks, 2
You can
forced fumbles.
regurgitate stats all you want.
I just think he was an extremely dominant player on an all-right Chiefs defense with a great offense. I think, you know what, the Chiefs, they did give up a lot of points, but I also think you have to look at the
A lot of
secondary on the
points.
Chiefs defense
Yeah.
and how the defensive line really stepped up this season and restricted the run game throughout most of the games.
To an extent, I mean, I think Watt just had a more of a presence defensively. 16 sacks is not to be overlooked. I think Chris Jones is a good player. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Again, I love Watt. Love him.
Why don't you put him on any of your? Why don't you put him on your team then?
Because I think this season for him was just a little dust off after the injury. I think
Oh, so
next
if you,
year.
if you
I
say
think-
it's
I
a
think-
dust off, you're implying that it's not good.
Exactly. I think
What?
No.
Exactly.
No. I'm saying I think next year he's gonna come back and have one of the best seasons the defensive end has ever had.
Who?
J.J. Watt.
Okay. All right. Defensive tackle. I have Aaron Donald and Akeem Hicks. I really liked Akeem Hicks this year. I mean, mostly because how many other defensive tackles had a rushing touchdown? I don't know the exact answer, but I would assume 0.
What was that?
He had a rushing touchdown, Akeem Hicks.
Okay.
But in all seriousness, the Bears, the best run defense in the NFL, had 77 yards against per game, which is just amazing. And he was the anchor of that defensive line. He is the anchor of that defensive line. I think he had a great year. Tyler, you do have Fletcher Cox. So
Yeah,
go
we're
for it.
talking about anchors of the defensive line. We got to talk about Fletcher Cox. 10.5 sacks. It's average. He did well.
He did
and,
aight. He did aight.
I think he dominated against the rush. To be honest with you.
I would agree. Sure, you also had Akeem Hicks. But we'll move on for now. We'll move
Trey
on
actually
for now.
just changed
Yes, I
his
did.
to Cox.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure, be confident, my guy. Moving on to linebackers, I have Darius Leonard, Leighton Vander Esch, my guy, and Von Miller. I think all 3 of those guys are anchors of the defense. I think Leighton Vander Esch had a spectacular year, and Von Miller, one of the most underrated years in the NFL. I think he was 3rd in sacks. He was 1st among all linebackers in sacks. I mean, the Broncos as a team didn't really get much recognition, and I think Vaughn deserved more recognition. Shrey, why don't you explain your answers real quick?
Well, I had Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner, and Darius Leonard. And to me, they were just all team leaders, powerful linebackers, making tackles, making big plays. As Tyler would say, they were impact players.
Playmakers.
Or that,
Good try, though.
Tomato, tomato, potato, potato.
But yeah, I agree with Bobby Wagner. Dominant player, 138 tackles, 11 pass deflections. Gets it done. Center of that defense. Then we have Roquan Smith, the rookie, playing for the Bears. He's just a valuable part of that great defense. 5 pass deflections, a pick, and 122 tackles. And like I said, just dominates on a really good defense. And then my last pick, I'm going with T.J. Watt. I'm going to consider him a linebacker. And, 13 sacks, 3 pass deflections, and 6 forced fumbles. It really doesn't get better than that.
All right, well, I'm not going to lie, disagree with everybody here. My first guy, I think he's extremely overlooked. Blake Martinez. What a kid.
White boy!
Playing for the Green Bay Packers this season, very difficult. Went through a lot of struggles this year. Still 92 solo tackles, 5 sacks. That is very limited, but he's still a linebacker. And I think you have to take into account. I think you have to take into account the 144 total tackles.
Yeah.
Great player, great player. I also then have, Telvin Smith.
Wow.
Yes, he had 134 total tackles. Yes, only 1 sack. He also had a forced fumble and 2 interceptions. I think on a Jacksonville Jaguars defense that throughout the beginning of the season played extremely well, but as the season went down. I think he stayed consistent throughout the whole year.
All right, Tyler, I got to expose you right now. Are you aware that Roquan Smith is a rookie?
Yeah, I said that.
Then why did you have Darius Leonard as your defensive rookie of the year, and he's not even on your top 3 linebacker list, but Roquan Smith is?
Get exposed. Get exposed.
Silence. Silenced. All right. Let's move on after Tyler just looked like an idiot. Cornerback, Shrey. You go first, my guy. Shrey. Shrey's currently eating a pepper at the moment.
I'm going to have to go with Gilmore and Fuller. And just 2 obvious choices in my mind.
Yeah.
Both team leaders, both great in man coverage and zone. There's just really nothing more to say, is there?
I don't think so. I think Byron Jones, he's on my team. No interceptions, interesting enough, from Byron Jones. But Byron
That's
Jones,
pretty weird for a cornerback.
he does have 13 pass breakups, and I think that is not to be overlooked.
Okay.
He doesn't. No quarterback really throws the ball to him that much because he's so locked down.
Jesus.
Tyler, I actually do like your choice for corner. So why don't you go ahead and give your choice? We all have Will Fuller. Kyle Fuller. Excuse me, by the way. But Tyler, who's your second corner?
I'm going with Xavier Howard, who I believe still plays for the Dolphins.
I don't think that's correct. Hold on.
12 pass deflections and 7 picks. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
All right, you're correct.
Yeah, I know. I had him on my Madden football team last year.
Straight. Yeah. Pat, you have Demarius Randall. Explain that one to me.
Well, Demarius Randall this season, played well. He played at both safety and quarterback this year. 85 tackles, 4 interceptions. I just think that he was dominant not only in defending against the pass game, but any rushers that came his way did not get past him.
Okay. All right. I guess that's fair. Moving on to safety, I have Eddie Jackson and Jamal Adams. I think Jamal Adams is one of the few, maybe one of the only bright spots of the Jets team this year. He just seems like a true leader defensively, and he looks like he's going to be there to stay for a good amount of time. I really like what Jamal did this year. I just love him. Tyler, you also have Eddie Jackson, but you also have someone else.
I have Malcolm Jenkins.
Interesting.
He didn't miss a single defensive snap all season. I think that's important.
Yeah.
He's consistent. 3 forced fumbles and 9 pass deflections. He only had 1 pick, I understand. But in the run game, he's dominant. He's one of the best linebackers to get up to the line of the ball.
Linebackers?
one of the best safeties to get up to the line of scrimmage and stop the rush, and I think that sets him apart.
Trey, I really do like your pick for your second safety. Tell me about Derwin James.
Derwin James just had an amazing rookie season. He had he played at basically an all-pro level. I had some statistics pulled up, but I don't anymore. But apparently he had better stats than Troy Polamalu in some of his all-pro seasons. So
Okay, that's
that speaks for
interesting.
itself.
Sure. Let's move on to, I think, the most controversial position in the NFL, and that is the kicker.
Chris Boswell.
I have Cody Parkey.
We're funny
Second
guys.
Cody Parkey joke of the evening.
Yeah, he's a joke.
It got worse. Somehow from that first joke, it got worse. Anyway, I have Aldrich Rosas.
Yep.
Yes, I'm a Giants
Never heard of
fan.
him.
Oh,
And
that's
the
a shame.
rest,
That's a damn
the
shame.
rest of us have the one and only, the Justin Tucker.
Now, can I make my case for Aldrich Rosas?
I don't
There
think
is
you
none.
can.
No,
you can't.
No, you can't.
Now,
We're
Aldrich
done.
Rosas is a dog.
No, he's a human.
He missed one field goal attempt all season.
Only one.
Only one. He's, I think.
Well, he's done his job.
He's 32 for 33. That's good for 97%. He's perfect from inside of 49 yards. And you look at a guy like Justin Tucker. He missed 4 field goals throughout the year. I mean, what else is your job other than kicking field goals, my guy?
How many field goals did what's his face take?
Tucker took.
No, I'm not talking about Tucker. I'm talking about whatever
Rosas attempted 33.
whatever scrub you picked.
Rosas' percentage was 97, and Tucker's was 89.7.
89 points. How many
that's
points
not
did
good.
what's his face have?
I mean, it's not all about points when you have more
How many
attempts.
points?
What
did
wins
what's
games?
his face
Points
have?
does, Max, not percentages.
Also,
That's what you said about
Justin
Patty
Tucker
Mahomes.
missed an extra point against the Saints, and that would have won them the game.
Let me ask you, how many points?
Or tied the game, I
How
believe.
many points? Once again,
I mean, it's not all
did
about
what's
points.
his face score?
Jaime Fairbairn probably had the most points. You're not
Fairbairn!
your best
Can I
kicker.
please know how many points he scored?
I don't goddamn know the amount of points.
Well, maybe you should have come prepared,
Oh
Max.
my God! How many points does Justin Tucker have?
141.
How many points does Rosas have?
Not enough.
I have no clue because that's your pick.
All right, well, you should have scouted my players as well. Last one before we go into UFC is return man. I have Roberts from the Jets. Just, I think he averages the most yards per return all year. He's just good at his job. He doesn't really do much else. Just really a return specialist, and he's not bad. Shrey, who you got?
I got Cohen.
Cohen?
It's Tariq Cohen,
Cohen.
Yeah.
Cohen. And I believe my man Tyler has that as well.
and so does Pat.
No, he
far as-
doesn't.
Oh, Pat doesn't. He changed it up.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot.
I never put Tariq Cohen. Just putting that out there.
Right, he put Adam Erickson, so he doesn't deserve to talk.
What are you
Shrey,
talking about?
continue. Why do you
Adam
think
Erickson-
Tariq?
Wait, whoa.
Okay.
Alex
Alex
Erickson.
Erickson.
Please.
Irrelevant.
Was basically Cincinnati Bengals' whole team this year.
I
They
could have
were-
been their
they
whole
were
team this year.
awful. They were terrible. But Erickson put the work in. 10.6 yards, a return, played all 16 games. He had,
You don't know
he
what
had
you're
20
talking
returns and 212 yards in total. In punt returns, that is. So I really just think that he was the one factor of life on that depressing Cincinnati
I will
Bengals
say it
team.
is correct to call it depressing, but Roberts averaged 29.5 yards per kickoff return, and Erickson only averaged 26.
Well, let me
Roberts
throw
also averaged 4 more yards per return in the punting game. Roberts also had 2 touchdowns. Erickson 0. So
I don't know this, but
It's not a.
how many
it's not a
returns did he
competition.
have?
They each had 40.
Okay.
That was in kick returns. Punt returns.
He had Roberts had 3
had
more.
3 more.
So it's
Here we
actually
are.
harder to obtain a higher average with more kicks.
But here we are
Yes,
overlooking
but
Tariq
who
Cohen.
knows what he could have done with those 3
But
picks.
here we are overlooking Tariq Cohen. 7 returns of over 20 yards.
There's no
That's
sample size there.
that's best in the league.
What?
That's best in the league. Of 20+ yard returns.
No, I mean, Cohen's a good return guy, but he
No,
just
he's a
doesn't get the ball
playmaker.
that much.
He's a playmaker. Once again,
Stop saying that freaking word.
makes a difference. A 20-yard return makes a difference.
He averaged 12.5 yards per return, and Roberts averaged 14. Not a competition here. Okay.
Wait, it definitely is a competition.
No, it's not.
Trey, there is
No,
no
it's not.
competition. All right, just stop it.
So you're admitting that Roberts is number 1?
No, I'm just admitting that there's no competition for Tarico.
Thank you.
okay.
We agree on something.
Wait, what?
All right. UFC. Tyler, why don't
UFC.
You, all right. Go at it right now, all right? You seem to know what you're talking about.
Just go off for a few minutes.
I mean, tomorrow night, Brooklyn, New York. TJ Dillashaw versus Henry Cejudo.
Well, who are those guys, Tyler?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. TJ Dillashaw is the champion of the 135-pound weight class. One of the best.
I weigh 100 pounds.
Came in, took the belt from Cody Garbrandt,
Who is Cody Garbrandt?
the champion of the division previously.
Previous.
He comes
what
in-
division is this?
This is the UFC 135-pound.
135 pounds.
Yes, he comes in, he takes
I
the
would
belt
like
from
to-
Cody
I would like
Garbrandt.
to interject
L-
here.
Listen here, listen here, listen here, listen here,
And
listen here.
Siraj is right
Listen
here.
here.
I'm
He takes
back.
the belt from Cody
I would just like
Garbrandt.
to say, I could take them on 2-on-1. I could kick both of their asses. I weigh around 113 pounds, and I think I could take both of them on. Even
All
though
right,
I
get
haven't-
outta here!
Okay, goodbye.
Go back to editing the video.
He comes in, he beats Cody Garbrandt. They rematch, he beats him again. 1 round, 1 knockout, and 1 round, 2 knockout. It's dominant. It's not even a question. He's fighting Henry Cejudo, the champion at 125. Came in, beat Demetrius Johnson, probably the best pound-for-pound fighter of all time. He's a gold medal wrestler. And in my opinion, if anyone is going to come in and beat TJ Dillashaw as an underdog, it's going to be Henry Cejudo.
Make sure you breathe, Tyler, all right?
I'm here with it. I don't know what the problem
Why
is.
don't you read the last 2 bullet points? Read the last 2 bullet points.
Max Bailey has the body of Henry Cejudo,
Thank you.
and he can bench more.
Thank you.
I would,
That was a
I
fact.
I would like to also agree with Tyler here. Cejudo has with a wrestling background, you learn a lot of things about you as UFC wrestlers seem to be successful, and
And
you know if,
wrestling
Ce- if
prepares you for
Cejudo
life.
if Cejudo can get into his ties, his collar ties and stuff. There's no chance that Dillashaw is going to get out of it. Of course, Dillashaw claims that he's a better wrestler than Cejudo, but he doesn't have a gold medal,
See,
does he?
now, how I look at this is TJ Dillashaw is the guy you want to be fighting against Henry Cejudo. Like Henry Cejudo dominates on the ground. He's a wrestler. That's what he does. But TJ Dillashaw is the guy who's gonna be able to grapple with him.
Oh yeah, agreed.
For sure.
Because
And the thing with-
Dillashaw cutting from 130,
135,
135 to 125, he's gonna be strong. He's
And-
gonna be strong at that weight, and it's 10 pounds. It sounds like it's a lot, but if you look at his physique when he was
He's a great
135, he looks the same
Great
exact
shape.
physique.
And in the same aspect, Henry Cejudo is the guy you would want to beat. The guy you would want to have fighting TJ Dillashaw. Again, he beats Demetrius Johnson, which nobody expected. Thought he was going to be dominated in the stand-up game, and comes out there, out-wrestles him, and outstrikes one of the best to ever do it. I think it is a great fight. However, I still have TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Dillashaw's gonna win, but I think this fight is gonna be one to watch for sure.
So, the favorite is Dillashaw, and it's easy to say, right, Tyler? But like, I'm into gambling, right? So Henry Cejudo is plus 175 to win, and Dillashaw is minus 215. So is there enough value on Cejudo that you would go with him,
Look, once again, I'm taking TJ Dillashaw.
even with those lopsided odds?
No, with the odds, I think you can make a really strong case to bet for Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
Once again, he was a huge underdog going into the fight against Demetrius Johnson, and dominated. Nobody expected that. And if he can put together a performance like that again, he's going to have a strong night against TJ Dillashaw. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, but once again, if there's someone you want to bet on as an underdog, it would be him.
And one last segment: BS or no BS. Number
What a
one,
name.
Antonio Brown will be traded by the start of next season. Shrey, our Steeler fan aficionado here, why don't you start us off here, buddy?
I'm gonna have to go no BS.
Wow.
And we can clearly see the evidence in his. I don't know if it was Twitter or Instagram, but he took the Steelers out of his bio. So
Wait, so you mean
no-
that's
nobody
BS?
wants
Bad
him.
news
Oh, no
bears.
BS, okay.
Bad news bears.
I agree. I think you should trade him. I mean, you got Juju. Why don't you just feed him?
Was it should or is it going to happen?
I think you should, and I don't think it's going to happen, though.
I don't think anyone wants him. He's a drama queen.
No, I mean,
he's
he's
a drama
talented.
queen.
Who cares?
Look, he's a good
Odell's a-
player, but you already see him feuding with Emmanuel Sanders.
I want him on the Texans.
And I don't.
I
you
think
know,
any
he-
team would
too-
love to have
too much.
him.
Too much baggage comes with him as a
I mean,
player.
sure,
Yeah,
but-
someone's gonna trade for him, but I don't think someone goes far out of their way to get him.
I don't think he does get traded because I don't think they're going to get in return what they want. for him. I mean, what are they going to want for him? Like a first-round pick? Maybe more. Look, Amari Cooper was worth a first-round pick, so you're going to have to give up more for that. And is anyone going to be willing to give up that for like you said, he's kind of like a drama queen, Antonio.
And I really think it would be very difficult for the Steelers to both lose, most likely, Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. Two
With Big Ben getting pretty
powerhouse
old.
players.
Let's be real.
You got
Big
Mason
Ben's on
Rudolph
his way
back there,
out.
baby. Oklahoma State. All right, so next question. Pat, this is mostly for you.
Oh, yeah.
Manny Machado, a little baseball action going on in here.
Baseball's stupid.
Manny Machado
Yeah, I said
will
it.
sign with the Chicago White Sox. Patrick, BS or no BS?
BS, sir.
BS.
Wow,
Yes.
where do you think he's going?
To be honest, I think he's either going Philadelphia,
Okay,
New York.
nope.
Why?
Why would they sign DJ LeMahieu and Troy Tulowitzki?
The
It's going
reasons
to be way too crowded.
No. You have to understand the reasoning behind it, sir. They signed them because what they needed to do was have a backup plan. Because they didn't go out and spend huge money.
They didn't. I mean, they kind of did on Britain and freaking Otanavio or whatever.
Well, they didn't go out and spend huge money, but like what I believe is that Machado and Harper, I think it would be a very, very difficult choice between the two because I don't know if you could pay both of them the salaries they want. But
Oh,
Machado is a drama queen. As a Yankees fan, I don't know if I'd want him on the team.
But he hates Boston. Isn't that good to
he does hate
revive
Boston.
the rivalry?
He does.
They hate him too. I mean, the rivalry's getting a little soft here. I don't know about this.
Because baseball's soft.
Nah, yeah, but I mean, it's nowhere near like Big Papi.
Yeah, it's nowhere
and
near the
A-Rod.
killings that would happen.
No, but my defense is specifically for the Yankees. You don't need more bats in the lineup. Like you have Andujar.
No, I think
You have an unknown.
Bigger
with
is
Greg
always
Bird.
better, Max.
You have an unknown with Greg Bird. I get that. But they don't need him right now. They need to be developing their young pieces. I think Andujar could have a better career than Machado. Sure, he's sloppy defensively, but what he showed offensively last year was amazing.
All right.
They don't need him.
I
I would like him to go to Philadelphia.
I would kind of like it too. I would much rather get Harper, have the most dominant outfield in the
right,
league.
ladies.
Again, you don't need him.
We're moving on here,
To
ladies.
be honest, I would say you need him because it would just give you more options in a game where, say, Judge doesn't hit, Stanton
That's
doesn't
not gonna
hit,
happen. Not gonna happen.
Sanchez doesn't hit.
Might
It
not.
happens all the time.
I think
They're
their
not
lineup
good.
is too good. They need starting pitching.
No, it
They need
happened. It
starting
happened
pitching.
all the time last year. I won't lie. I love the
Mostly
Yankees.
because of injuries.
No, they.
Judge injured, Sanchez
But if
injured.
you look at some of the games with Judge, especially in the playoffs, Judge going 0 for 4, Stanton going 0 for 4, Gary
I think that could
Sanchez
be
going 0
attributed
for
to
3.
his injury.
I
I mean,
don't- I
he
really
wasn't
don't think so.
100%. Yeah, I mean, Stanton's gonna take some time. He had a decent year, I think. I think Stanton did have a different
He
decent
did play
year.
decently, but I think that adding another offensive weapon would not be a bad thing.
It wouldn't be a bad thing. No, I wouldn't be mad. But I would like to reallocate our money elsewhere towards starting pitching. Starting pitching is a thing that
Well,
kills us.
I
don't think we have an ace on the team. You look at Severino, question mark.
No, I'm gonna have to say I really believe that we will end up with Thor.
Oh,
If you know
love
what I'm
that.
talking about,
Okay.
by the end of this offseason by trading either
But-
Andujar or Torres.
Not trading Torres. Do not trade Torres. Thank you.
That's
Siraj
completely
is
ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, and you
And
are.
I just gotta say,
I would probably.
I just gotta say,
Super
I
young
think
talent.
I think Stan's had a decent year.
Sure, you don't know what you're talking about.
No, Stan's had a decent year. Listen to me. But I think.
I think that I unplugged his mic. I think they need starting pitching. And if they were to flip Andujar for Thor and then get Machado, sure. But I don't think the Mets are doing that. You're going to need to give them Andujar and someone else. And I don't know if the Yankees
You know
are
what?
willing
You
to
know
do
what
that.
I'd be willing to give up? Andujar, Sanchez. Get him out.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Ladies, we
I wouldn't
have
do
to
that.
move on
Boston
here.
Look at
one
what
line
look
behind
at
the
what
plate.
look at what Sanchez did 2 years
Can we
ago.
please wrap it up?
Cannot be overlooked.
Honestly, Sanchez towards the end of the season as a catcher was not doing his job.
No, but that was partly. There is an attitude
It was
issue
partly
there.
attitude, also partly part of the bullpen. There was a lot
Yeah,
of
I mean,
issues towards the end.
I don't think they need Machado. I think another year of rolling it back, hoping everyone stays healthy, hoping Severino is back to where he was in the beginning of last year. It's a World Series caliber team. You don't need Machado. Moving on. That is actually it.
What a great ending.
All right, Tyler wants me to do one more. Nick Foles.
Tyler's boobs are jiggling.
Nick Foles will be the
As
starting
always.
quarterback next year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tyler, BS or no BS?
What the hell?
I think no.
Wait, why not? Nick Foles and the Jaguars?
I think it's
Jaguars.
look.
Jaguars.
Look at them Jaguars.
All
I
right.
think it's a possibility.
Yeah.
They obviously need a quarterback.
Yeah, I think they're a
Nick
quarterback
Foles
away.
gets it done. Super Bowl MVP, like one of the best to ever do it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
I think,
along
I
with
think
that,
it'd be a good fit.
I don't know if I'm gonna go with no BS here because I think there's a chance some other teams are interested.
Like who? I would like it. Denver could be good.
Yeah,
The
I
Pittsburgh Steelers.
I
Shut
think
up,
there's
Shrek.
I think there's
Shrek.
definitely teams that are gonna be interesting.
How'd you put your
interested,
mic
but,
back?
Teams are going to be interested, but as of now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are.
Yeah, I think it's a
I'm gonna put out
possibility.
an
I think
un-
it's a
But the
possibility.
Jaguars could draft a QB.
I'm also
I
gonna
think
put out
if
an
Haskins is
unpopular.
there, they might go with Haskins.
I'm gonna put out an unpopular opinion here.
Can't wait to hear this one.
I
All
really
your
believe
opinions
I
are
really
unpopular.
believe Nick Foles will stay with the Eagles. Carson
No
Wentz is
way.
gone.
Shut up.
For Jalen
that
Ramsey.
is-
For
that
Jalen
is-
Ramsey while
that
we're
is
talking about the
BS,
Jags.
my friend.
I'll take it.
As
BS.
much as I believe that's what they should do, Carson Wentz is a
Yeah,
franchise
it's not gonna
quarterback.
happen. Younger.
He's
It's
younger.
not gonna happen.
They've invested a lot in him, and I don't think they're gonna just. bail on
He's
him
the
like
franchise guy.
I think
You know,
people forget how
his heart's
good
in it.
he was.
Yeah.
In the season.
I
he
mean,
got
let's
hurt
be real.
early.
He was
He
injured
was
all this season. He was
Well, yeah,
injured.
he
He was
wasn't
injured all this
100%.
season. Bring him back
But-
100%, and he's going to get it done.
You know, he was an MVP caliber quarterback before the first injury.
Yeah, but if you of course, I think after another year of not playing,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like when he came back from his injury this season, he was playing different football than he was before.
Yeah, he was
Of course,
afraid.
He was very scared. You see,
Understandable.
in the pocket, he wasn't escaping the pocket at all. And
Not at all.
I mean, taking into consideration, like, week 6, he was injured again.
Yeah, I'll
And-
tell you
and
guys.
obviously not
Exactly.
playing
I'll
how
tell
he
you
was.
guys a quick story. One of
wanna
my
hear
friends
this.
that lives out in Philadelphia does rehab at the Eagles facility for his shoulder. He was mid-season playing. Carson Wentz was walking back to the training facility. He was limping. And I saw this video, and I immediately got on my phone, and I was like, is Carson Wentz still playing this weekend? It said yes, and I was very confused. I really think that it was a terrible decision to bring Carson Wentz back so quickly.
Yeah.
And you know what? They did what they did, and
So you think that he had some struggles this year because he wasn't 100%?
yes.
Yeah,
But you
for
still
sure.
want Nick Foles to be the starting
I
quarterback
still
next
don't.
year.
But I still don't think even when he comes back 100%, he will be
Oh,
the
come
same
on.
quarterback that he used to be.
Incorrect. Tyler wants 30 seconds on Donald Cerrone. You have 30 seconds. Go.
Yeah, quick 30 seconds for all you UFC fans still here. I'm a huge Donald Cerrone fan, as I'm sure many of you are. And he's fighting Alexander Hernandez, and, you know, an up-and-coming guy. It's the old man versus the young gun. And I have to go with Cerrone. He's the underdog. He got it done against Mike Perry the last time he fought. He's coming back, and I think it's going to be the exact same situation. He's just going to outstrike him. He's going to outgrapple him. He knows what he's doing. And, you know, if we're talking betting odds again, I would take Donald Cerrone.
See you later, BSers.
Max, that was the worst outro I've
All right,
ever
this is
heard.
Siraj. I'm back. We're not doing that ever again. Don't listen to Max. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say, signing out. I got to rip ass. I'll see y'all later.
Even worse.
So long, sports fans.
Bye, BFers.
Adios, amigos, for all my
Get
Espanolos
the
out
hell
there.
out of here.
All right, thank you guys so much for listening to No BS. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts.
Also follow us on Instagram, and also let us know what you think. Feedback. would
Yeah, leave a
help
comment,
lot.
definitely.
Yeah.
Favorite sections in the comments below.
Yeah.